watching the 100-meter dash at the Olympic Games. The starting gun goes off, and you naturally assume the person with the fastest recorded time on paper is just going to win.
Right, you just assume it's the highest number on the spreadsheet.
Exactly. I mean, it's a straight, clean line. You've got 8 dedicated lanes. It's just pure, uninterrupted physics, right? The raw data tells the whole story, and you crown the winner.
Which is, exactly how most casual observers approach evaluating data.
Yeah.
Whether they're looking at a spreadsheet or, say, a race program, they just look for the highest number, assuming it operates in a total vacuum.
Right. But now, imagine that same 100-meter dash, but halfway down the track, all 8 of those runners have to suddenly squeeze through a single narrow doorway.
Oh, man. Yeah, that changes everything.
It totally does. Suddenly, raw speed isn't just unhelpful, it actually becomes this massive liability. I mean, if everyone sprints for that same doorway at the exact same time, you don't get a winner, you just get a spectacular pileup.
Because the environment completely alters the value of that raw speed. When the physical space is contested, the metric of speed actually weaponizes against the runners themselves.
Exactly. And welcome to another deep dive. Today, we are promising you a shortcut to being well-informed, skipping all the information overload, and getting straight to the tactical insights.
Yeah, today's mission is all about decoding that doorway.
It really is. We are looking at the hidden mechanics of a high-stakes competitive environment, specifically a horse race. We've got a dense packet of raw data in the form of Brisnet past performances, paired with this highly tactical racing form report.
It's some incredibly detailed stuff.
Very dense.
Wow.
And we are zeroing in on race 10 at Churchill Downs today, the St. Matthew's Overnight Stakes. For those following along with the sources, this is a 6-furlong dirt sprint for 4-year-olds and up, carrying a pretty substantial $200,000 purse.
It's really a brilliant setup for our analysis today because, I mean, a 6-furlong sprint on the dirt is short, it's fast, and it is inherently aggressive. It is just a complete pressure cooker.
Yeah, and our goal for you today isn't to just, hand out a tip sheet. We are going to learn how to read the hidden geometry of a race.
Geometry is the perfect word for it.
Right. This is really a masterclass in strategy, mapping out exactly how the fastest competitor on paper is very often the absolute worst bet you can make. Okay, let's unpack this.
It's really an exercise in seeing past public consensus.
Yeah.
Because the obvious surface-level data in this particular Brisnet packet is screaming a very specific, and I would argue, very seductive lie to the betting public.
It really is a trap. Let's start with what the public is going to see the second they open this packet.
Sure.
We're looking at a dirt track at Churchill Downs, and the track bias stats are basically flashing neon red.
Flashing very brightly.
According to the data, this specific track at this exact 6-furlong distance heavily favors early speed. We're looking at a massive 69% speed bias.
And just to put that in perspective, in the world of track biases, 69% is like a gravitational pull.
It's massive.
It's an overwhelming statistical anomaly. It basically tells everyone in the grandstand that if your horse doesn't get to the front of the pack early, you might as well just tear up your ticket right then.
I mean, and the numbers completely back that up. The Brisnet data shows that horses with an early speed running style, the ones designated as E-types in the system, they have a winning impact value of 1.36.
And we should probably clarify what an impact value of 1.36 actually means in practice,
Oh, definitely. Break that down.
Because an impact value of 1.0 would mean the horse is winning exactly its fair share of races based on just random distribution. So 1.36 means these early speed horses are winning 36% more often than they statistically should.
That is wild.
The data actually shows they are taking down 41% of all these races.
Which is just an insane edge. So I'm looking at this field of 11 horses, and I'm trying to apply that data. Immediately, 2 horses jump off the page as absolute speed demons. First, you have number 1, Concrete Glory.
Oh yeah, Concrete Glory.
He's sitting at 8-to-1 odds, but he has this blazing 102 best dirt speed figure. And his running style is listed as E8.
Right, the E is for early speed.
Exactly. And that 8 essentially means he possesses extreme one-dimensional speed. He only has 1 gear, and it is pretty much rocket ship.
You gone.
Yeah. And on top of that, he's starting from the rail post position 1, which is mathematically the shortest path around the track.
He essentially has a literal straight shot to the lead along the inside fence. No traffic.
Right. And then you look at number 2, Built. He's taking heavy money at 3-to-1 odds. He comes in with the highest last race speed rating of the entire field, a flat 100, and he actually won his last race at the fairgrounds.
He's very sharp right now.
So let me just throw this out there, playing devil's advocate. If this Churchill track mathematically rewards early speed, and number one, Concrete Glory, is a literal rocket ship starting on the absolute shortest path, why am I overthinking this?
It's a fair question.
Doesn't the guy on the inside rail just push the pedal to the metal, clear the field, and win a drag race?
I mean, it is incredibly tempting to look at it that way. The drag race analogy makes perfect sense if you're only looking at those brilliant speed figures in complete isolation.
Right.
But that's where the Racing Form report steps in and completely dismantles that theory. The report explicitly warns, like, in bold letters, this is not a clean speed race.
Wait, I have to push back on that. How can it not be a clean speed race when 69% of the time speed outright wins here? That feels super contradictory.
Well, speed wins when speed can breathe. The fatal flaw in the drag race theory is the physical reality of the actual track.
Okay, how so?
In a literal drag race, every single car gets its own dedicated, uncontested lane, right?
Yeah.
In horse racing, especially a dirt sprint, everyone is fighting for the exact same piece of real estate at the front. The physics of what happens when you cram too many fast horses into the same starting gate is entirely predictable. It changes the entire geometry of the event.
Ah, this is the doorway analogy from earlier.
Precisely. Let's look at the herd dynamics rather than just the individual numbers. The Racing Form report maps out the horses that fundamentally require that exact same forward space to be successful.
It's a crowded doorway.
Very. We have number 1, Concrete Glory on the rail. We have number 9, Maximum Bourbon, who has an extreme E7 run style. We have number 10, Jack's Promise. Number 7, Wendelson. Number 2, Built. And number 8, Bourbon Bash.
Wait, that is 6 horses in a field of 11.
Yep.
Over half the field fundamentally needs to be the leader.
Exactly. Because the front end of this race isn't free, it creates a physical and psychological phenomenon the report calls a contested speed compression.
Contested speed compression.
Yeah.
I like that.
Right. When those starting gates fly open, the first quarter mile is going to be blistering. These 6 horses are going to match each other stride for stride, and in doing so, they aren't just running fast. They are aggressively burning each other's anaerobic energy reserves.
Oh, so they're just cooking themselves.
Totally. They are going to exhaust all of their late-stage stamina just trying to survive the physical compression of the first 30 seconds.
The psychological aspect of that is wild, too, when you dive into the specific roles the report maps out. Like, it labels number 1, Concrete Glory, as false anchor.
False anchor, yeah.
Because he is pinned on the inside rail, his jockey has absolutely no choice. He has to commit. If he hesitates for like half a second, the 5 horses to his outside will aggressively cross over and just bury him in dirt.
He'd be trapped immediately.
Exactly. So he's essentially firing his engines out of pure self-preservation, which means he's going to be totally vulnerable late in the race when his legs turn to jelly.
And then contrast that with the horse all the way on the outside, number 9, Maximum Bourbon. The report labels him a disruptor.
A disruptor?
Right. Is he fast? Yes. But in this specific field geometry, his early speed isn't actually a winning tool. Instead, his speed is the catalyst for the pace collapse.
Oh, interesting.
He's the guy who is going to pressure Concrete Glory so relentlessly from the outside that he ruins the race for the rail horse, and in the process, completely drains his own tank. What's fascinating here is how the mechanics of track bias actually fold in on themselves.
Because everyone in the jockey's room read the exact same memo.
Exactly.
They all know the track heavily favors speed, so they all try to exploit that exact same bias simultaneously, and they end up mathematically destroying each other's win probabilities.
It creates a self-destruct mechanism. The track bias basically becomes a trap for the participants.
Okay, so if the front is basically a suicide pack and we've got a 6-car pileup guaranteed at the first turn, my brain automatically goes to the opposite extreme.
Naturally.
If I know there's going to be a wreck at the front, I want the guy who is avoiding the wreck entirely. Look at number 11, Air Invasion. He's a 30-to-1 long shot. His run style is P0, which means he has absolutely zero early pace. So in my mind, he just sits 20 lengths back, sips a coffee, avoids the doorway compression entirely, and then jogs past all these exhausted horses in the final stretch.
It's a very logical deduction, honestly. But you have to factor in the physical debris of the race.
The debris.
Yeah. The Racing Form report actually specifically shoots down that deep closer theory. A horse like Air Invasion is going to be way too far back. Even when the leaders collapse, a deep closer still has an enormous amount of physical ground to make up in a very short sprint.
Just literally too much distance to cover.
Right. And more importantly, They don't get a clean lane to do it. They have to navigate through a literal wall of tired, retreating horses. They have to weave through the debris of that collapsed front end.
Okay, that makes sense. So the front runners are going to burn out, and the deep closers have way too much traffic to navigate. Logically, mathematically, there is only one place left on the track, the pocket right behind the leaders. Does the data point to a specific horse sitting in that sweet spot?
It does, and this is where the geometry gets really beautiful. The winner has to come from the first wave immediately behind the speed. The report identifies this specific tactical profile as a satellite strike.
A satellite strike. I actually love that term. You're just orbiting the chaos.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You aren't in the fire itself, but you are close enough to feel the heat. You are positioned to strike the absolute second the frontrunners start to hit their physiological wall. And the system's top pick fits this profile flawlessly. Enter number 3, BU.
Let's break down BU, because this is where the numbers start to tell a really compelling story. He's sitting at 4-to-1 odds. The report categorizes him as a primary satellite with a P2 run style.
Yep, the P stands for presser.
Right, meaning he has strong tactical speed to keep up, but that too indicates he absolutely does not require the lead to feel comfortable.
And when you look under the hood at the Brisnet stats, they heavily support this tactical advantage. BU is ranked number 1 overall in prime power at 140.9.
Now, let's contextualize prime power for a second, for you listening. That isn't just a raw speed metric like the ones that are trapping the other horses.
Right, exactly. Prime power is a much more sophisticated composite algorithm. It factors in class, pace, recent form, and speed. A 140.9 rating at this specific level of racing means he is fundamentally a more complete, higher caliber athlete than the rest of this field.
Which makes total sense when you look at his history. I mean, he is taking a massive drop in class today. His last race was the Grade 2 Carter Stakes at Aqueduct.
Which is huge.
It's a major graded stakes event against elite competition. Today, he's running in an overnight stakes. That's essentially like a Major League Baseball player dropping down to AAA.
Huge advantage.
Plus, he's trained by Todd Pletcher and ridden by John Velasquez. That is a Hall of Fame, elite-level human combination making the decisions out there.
And critically, unlike the speed horses, BU possesses a very strong late-pace figure. So when you combine his physical capability with the race geometry we just mapped out, the picture becomes incredibly clear.
It perfectly aligns.
Right. BU is going to break from post position 3. Velasquez doesn't have to gun it. He can just let those 6 speed horses go out there and beat each other senseless.
Let them fight for the doorway.
Exactly. TS, you will sit in that clean pocket, the primary satellite position, right behind the compression zone. When they hit the top of the stretch and the leaders are just gasping for air, Bias is perfectly positioned to get the first serious, unencumbered run at the finish line.
He just uses that late pace to slingshot right past the wreckage.
Exactly.
It is so mathematically clean when you map it out. But of course, they still have to run the actual race. It's a chaotic environment involving 1,000-pound animals. So what does this all mean for us?
Right. How do we apply it?
Yeah, how do we take this really elegant theory of a satellite strike and build an actual betting ticket that protects us if the geometry gets, a little weird?
Well, that's the leap from just having a good theory to actually being a smart investor.
Yeah.
You have to hedge against the chaos of the physical world. The report outlines a very deliberate betting structure to manage that risk.
Walk us through it.
So structurally, your primary wager, your heavy win bet, is on number 3, BU. But for your exotic bets, like your exactas and trifectas, you have to identify the main dangers. You need to know which horses could potentially blow up the theory if they get a lucky trip.
Right.
And those main dangers are number 10, Jack's Promise, and number 2, Built.
Let's compare Jack's Promise and Built, because their physical starting positions are wildly different, and I think it perfectly illustrates the spatial dynamics we've been talking about. Number 10, Jack's Promise, is an 8-to-1 shot. The report calls him an outside satellite because he drew post position 10 way on the outside of the starting gate.
And in a crowded, compression-heavy race, that outside draw is his absolute greatest weapon.
Because he has room.
Because it gives his jockey choices. He can break from the gate, look inside, see the 6-horse pileup developing, and simply decide to float in the clear air on the outside. He can press the pace without ever getting physically trapped in the claustrophobic fire on the rail. He basically has a clean tactical lane carved out for him.
Which is the exact opposite of number 2, Built. Built is the 3-to-1 favorite, but the report warns he's an inside satellite. He's starting from post position 2, sandwiched right next to the desperate rail speed of concrete glory.
Which makes Built incredibly trip-sensitive. Don't get me wrong, he is a very live, highly capable horse.
I mean, he's coming off a win and has a flat 100 speed figure.
Exactly, but because of that inside draw, his path to victory is precarious. If he doesn't break absolutely perfectly from the gate, he risks getting boxed in by the sheer mass of horses crashing down toward the rail from the outside. He's a major contender, but his margin for error is razor thin compared to BU or Jack's Promise.
It's basically like being stuck in the middle seat on a highly turbulent flight.
Yes.
You have zero control over the armrest, you can't get out, and you just have to hope the guys next to you don't crush you.
That is the perfect analogy.
And then there's one more horse the report flags as a major variable. Number 7, Wendelson, sitting at 12-1.
Wendelson is a fascinating case. The report classifies him as a secondary satellite. He is dangerous because his raw talent is undeniable. He actually ties for the best dirt speed in the entire field at 102, and he's ranked second overall in prime power at 139.8.
Sitting right behind our top pick, BU.
Right.
So if his numbers are that elite, why is he floating at 12-1 odds? What's the catch there?
Well, the catch is his temperament combined with the race shape. He's designated as an EP5 early and pressing speed. A horse with that specific profile is incredibly competitive by nature.
They want to run.
Yeah, the danger here is that his natural instinct is to chase the leader. If his jockey doesn't physically fight to hold him back and relax him on the outside, Wendelson is going to burn his own fuel reserves in the first 30 seconds just trying to keep up with the chaos.
Well, it's all on the jockey to keep him calm.
If the jockey can anchor him, he is incredibly live at a huge price. But if he gets dragged into the front-end fight, he's going to fade. He is the ultimate backup horse.
So if we truly believe this is a race dictated by geometry and not just raw speed, our betting ticket has to reflect that philosophy. We aren't just blindly listing numbers.
Right.
The report suggests building your exotics around the premise that BU wins, but protecting yourself against the other satellites. So for the Exacta, which is predicting first and second place in order, you structure a ticket with number 3, BU, finishing over 10, 2, and 7.
Yes.
But to hedge against a messy trip, you play a backup Exacta with number 10, Jack's Promise, finishing over 3, 2, and 7.
And you follow that exact same logic for the trifecta too, keeping your satellites in those top 3 positions, predicting that the speed horses will entirely fall out of the money. So it would be, the 3 over the 10, 2, 7, over the 10, 2, 7, 1, 6.
You're just blanketing the satellites.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this entire exercise is about recognizing that value isn't found in the obvious data. The casual money will inevitably pour in on the horses with the highest raw speed numbers, like Concrete Glory and Built. But the smart money evaluates the spatial dynamics. It calculates where the friction is going to be highest, and it strategically invests in the entity positioned just outside that friction.
It's playing the pack, not just the individual. So to synthesize what we've unpacked for you today, we didn't just find an overlay in a $200,000 stakes race. We explored a blueprint for reading dynamic, chaotic environments.
We really did.
When a metric like Brisnet speed data creates an overwhelming public consensus, the true value lies in finding the exact competitor position to exploit that very consensus. You learn that when everyone is blinded by a track bias that screams speed, they actually walk right into a trap.
It's a massive trap.
The winning play isn't to exert maximum effort right out of the gate. The winning play is to be the primary satellite sitting patiently just behind the chaos, letting the competition exhaust themselves in a bidding war for the front, and making your decisive move only when the path naturally opens up.
It truly is a masterclass in how positioning and patience will almost always defeat sheer, uncalculated exertion.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to take away today. If race geometry is this predictable, if you can literally map out a contested speed compression simply because too many participants want the exact same advantage at the exact same time, how often is this happening in your own professional life? Think about your industry, think about the stock market, or even a crowded job market. When everyone rushes to be the early speed leader, fighting aggressively for the exact same narrow lane and destroying each other in the process, are you getting caught in the compression? Or have you learned to play the satellite, waiting patiently just behind the heat, preserving your energy to make your winning move?